Church is not a place where we go to worship God. Pastors are not the heads of churches. Human religion can't save us. I know it's odd to hear these sorts of things from a pastor, especially one like me. Starting out in ministry, I was so consumed with the idea of building a large ministry, having my own nonprofit, being heard far and wide because of my intelligence and ability to share something profound. There was a reason for that. I was raised in America, where ministry was about being a personality, and success in ministry meant larger churches, more dynamic ministries, and showing that what I did was better than what the next person did. In America, pastors are celebrities. Churches are cultural centers of wealth and prosperity. Worship services are planned for the live stream, and Christians are attenders. I set my sights high. I founded my own nonprofit. I was training Native missionaries through an online training platform I developed. I had a large online audience. And as I set my sights even higher, climbing that ladder of success, God completely killed my aspirations. I left the ministry. I quit my PhD program. I stopped everything. And it was good. This is the Andrew Paul Cannon podcast. Now, August 2nd, 2026 is a big day for me. I'm releasing a small book called The King's House of Bricks. It is my small vision, I think a biblical one, about what the church should be. Over the last few years, God has restored me to ministry and shown me that church is a place of mutual edification because God has already given us everything. So we give ourselves to one another in community, rather than thinking we have to worship ritualistically to somehow get anything more from God than He has already given. He showed me that pastors are servants, truly the lowest position in the church rather than the highest. And He has fortified my belief that Jesus is truly the only one who can save. No human religion can do that because, well, God doesn't need us. Instead, we need Him. The book is short, but the vision is simple and life-altering for Christians everywhere. In the excerpt from my new book, available for free at andrewpaulcannon.blog, I get at the main question early on. What is the nature of Christ's church? To get at the nature, I go to the first time Jesus ever mentions the church He is building. During His conversation with Peter, Peter has just confessed that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. And listen to Matthew chapter 16, verses 17 and 18 here. And Jesus said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, because flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. I also say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overpower it." Now, I think this is cool. Flesh and blood could not reveal Jesus' identity to Peter. Only the Father who is in heaven did that. Peter was a Jew, and even his religion couldn't get him to God. God had to reveal Himself to Peter. That's the way it always must be, despite our religion. We can't see God, so He must come to us. Jesus called Peter the rock or foundation, and yes, He was talking about Peter, not Himself. Revelation chapter 20, verse 14 confirms that for us, the 12 apostles are the 12 foundations of the kingdom. Consequently, that meant Peter was only one out of 12. He wasn't the Pope or something silly like that. I also noticed that if the apostles were the foundations of the church, they were at the bottom, not the top. They were servants, not tyrants. They were like waiters at a restaurant hired to serve the tables and bring people spiritual food from the true chef. The true chef is Jesus. Make no mistake about that. Now, this deeply impacts the way I think about ministry now. Completely different from my philosophy of ministry before I quit a few years back. If we truly want to be apostolic in the church today, our pastors are the lowest position in the church, not the highest in true apostolic form. And the foundation will crush the building if it sits at the top. Right? Sadly, I think we see such polity far too often. Pastors are not governors, we are slaves. We exist for the congregation, not the congregation for us. And that's why we feed Christ's sheep. That's why these days I'm doing something a little different. Instead of quote unquote leading in the sense of presiding over a body, planning and casting vision, I'm resolved to consider others more important than myself, serve the congregation and community, and raise others up so they can fulfill their ministries. I didn't even realize I was trying to conform the church to my image before, but that's exactly what I was doing. And this makes me think differently about nearly every aspect of church life. Consider, for instance, the most recent big news in the Southern Baptist Convention. Al Mohler introduced an amendment that strictly defines the role of a pastor or anyone serving like a pastor as a role for men only, and disfellowships any church with women serving in roles like that of a pastor, as the role is defined by the SBC at large. Now, even though we have to wait another year to see the results of the vote, the amendment is well on its way to passing, with a majority vote already cast in its favor. Pastors are seen as the authoritative teachers of the church, offering doctrinal interpretations, correction, rebuke, and restoration to the congregation. Essentially, pastors are like little popes of their own congregations. And anyone serving in a position of spiritual authority at a local church is perceived as being in that sort of pastoral role, even if called by a different title, like, I don't know, minister or director or first lady. And when these waters finally stir, they're going to get pretty mucky pretty quickly. Now, there certainly is a conversation to be had about the role of men and women in the church, but I personally wonder if we have wrongly identified the role of a pastor, elder, or overseer in our culture such that we have facilitated an environment that allows for pastoral abuse, celebrity treatment, and the perception of the pastor or other leaders as the heroes of the church. The pastors are not the heroes. Jesus is. If our pastors were at the bottom instead of the top, they would not eclipse Jesus, and no one would fight for the right to be in a pastoral role. The church might just be healthier, and the pastor could be free to set the example of humility for the rest of the congregation so that no one in the congregation fought to control anything. Even church discipline would become an act of service from love rather than an excuse to maintain control of or pursuit of one person's vision. Just like the Roman Catholics before us, we have buried the pinnacle of the church under its foundation instead of serving and raising up Christ's bride for his glory alone. And I pray we shift our attention and get back to our roots. It's experiencing reformation again. Now, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Andrew Paul Cannon podcast. Be sure to visit andrewpaulcannon.blog to purchase your copy of The King's House of Bricks and plan on being in church on August 2nd, 2026. You don't want to miss out on the bonus content in the special edition of this book After August 2nd, it will never, ever be available again. Now be sure to subscribe to this podcast on any podcasting app, follow me on social media, and connect at andrewpaulcannon.blog. I will catch you next time right here on the Andrew Paul Cannon podcast.